This morning, as I get ready with everything, hopefully you've enjoyed what we've put together for you, the videos and different things. And it teaches us about Easter in different ways. We've sung about it, we've read about it, and we've watched it. And so I get a chance to do that. And my wife says you have 12 minutes. And then she said you have 9 minutes. And the more she kept wanting to add, my time went down and down and down. But that's okay. Because you know what? Jesus is already here. We've already had church. The Holy Spirit's been here and He's been moving. And He loves each one of us. But that gives me 8 minutes and I'm going to try to get in. I didn't drink coffee this morning, so I'm not going to be going 100 miles an hour. And so, like last time I did. But I want you to, we're going to learn some things though, that I just want to share. As I begin to pray about this morning, what do you want me to share with the Lord? And the biggest thing He said to me was, just share the story. There's no need to add or take away or anything. Just share the story. So I began to think, for me, the first verse that kicks this all off is actually John 3:16. And I want to start there. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life. What an amazingly simple thing. We as human beings we want to complicate everything. We want to make things, instead of 3 steps, 10. God gave His 10 commandments. The Jews ended up with over 600 laws. Let's look at this verse before we get going. See, for God so loved. So you got to understand it was from Him to us first. That He loved us so much that He figured out a way for us after we had, through our sin, destroyed the way we come to Him. We couldn't. There's nothing we can do. No amount of money we can pay. No, we can't be good enough. We can't be righteous enough ever to come into the presence of God. Until He made a way for that to happen. He loved the world that He gave His one and only Son. See, I want you to tell you what, for those of you who know sacrifice, God knows sacrifice. He understands sacrifice. He understands to love something so much, to give up something so precious for it. Meaning this, we messed up. But He loved us so much that He gave the most precious thing He could, His one and only Son. And so you know what, if He's already given us the most precious thing to Him, why would He withhold other things? This is not a health and wealth. God is not an ATM. I talk to people, you hear people on TV, if you'll send me 1,000, God will multiply it tenfold or whatever. He's not an ATM that way. It doesn't work that way. But God does love us enough, so much that He wants to take care of us. Amen. And provide for our needs.
That's right. That's right.
For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son. Here it is, though, that whoever believes in Him. Then you got to understand this. For us, this is a faith. This is us stepping out that the Holy Spirit comes and He reveals Jesus to us. That we have the Son of God. And we have the ability to come into the throne room of God again because of the sacrifice.
That's right.
This is the one weekend out of the year that we really, the whole world, will at least pay attention somewhat to the cross.
Right.
When I look at our cross, ours is nice and neat and cut and all that kind of stuff. But it has splinters, just as Joel. Because he's carried it before and it'll eat you up a little bit if you start to carry it. It's also quite heavy. But you know what the one thing that I love about this cross? is that it's empty.
Amen. Praise God.
We can look to the cross and the sacrifice, and we talked about Holy Week and the triumphal entry and how everybody was in love with Jesus and his name was floating on the air. And then by Good Friday, it's funny how we name things like that, isn't it? On Good Friday, there was a sacrifice on this cross. That God's Son was put on this cross. That he was nailed to this cross. And that all of our sin, everything that we have done from the beginning of mankind till now, my sin was the nails.
That's right. That's right.
The put him there. But thank God that he overcame all of my Indian choices.
Amen.
All of my sin. He overcame that.
Amen.
And not only did he come down and we put him in the tomb, you see that when God offered up his Son for us, death is the ultimate power according to all of us.
Yes.
That's it, right? Death is it. But see, Jesus, he used death. Because we believe that death is the ultimate power in a sense. It's the ultimate ending.
That's right.
So when I see that cross, I also see the tomb where they put him. And I see the tomb where he lays no more.
Amen. Praise God.
You know, we've been having such a good time on Wednesdays, and one thing that actually Lori said this Wednesday was amazing to me, and I just went, duh. You know, as I was looking, she said, you know what, it's funny that they think that maybe the people came in and stole Jesus' body. But the funny thing is that all of his garments were folded at the end of where they laid him. If you were a thief stealing a dead body, would you want to touch it? Would you take all of the clothes and the garments off of him and fold them and leave them there? For me, that's just funny, because I think about that. When she said that, I was like, duh. Matter of fact, if you're going to steal them, you're bringing in an extra blanket. I'm not going to touch the dead body. But you see, death wasn't Jesus' ending.
That's right. Amen.
Because if it was, none of us would be here today. We've talked about this, and I've said this before.
Amen.
We wouldn't be here if Jesus was still in the tomb.
That's right.
Healings wouldn't happen. We've been talking about healings today.
That's right.
God's power wouldn't be on the earth today if he was still in the tomb. But Jesus rose again. And he sits at the right hand of the Father right now. But before he went there, he said, you know what? They're not going to believe it unless I show myself. And so what did he do? He told a bunch of church ladies, and that's the fastest way to get the word out. Sorry, that's wrong. You know what? If you think I'm the first pastor to ever use that, you're wrong. But I have to be careful, because I have 4 women in my life that will all wait for me to go to sleep. No. But Jesus appeared to them. You know what? When they were scared, Jesus, he did this after his resurrection, just like he did before. Anytime something supernatural happens, we as human beings are freaked out a little bit. He says, do not be afraid. It's me. The story is what talks about doubting Thomas. He shows him the holes. I love the cartoon where the guy's pointing at the side.
Yeah.
You know, up there. Jesus came and he said, it is me. But it's not me, because I've risen.
That's right. Amen.
Death bears your sting. He used death. He abused it. Let's go on. Let's read. See, that was just the introduction. And I've got 1 minute left. Let's read the story. Matthew 28, 1 through 15. after the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went and looked at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him, they shook and became like dead men. Yes, I would too. If I was there guarding the tomb, first of all, it's rolled away. The seal, the imperial seal had been broken. These guys were going to die. But then to have an angel of God appear, how's he going to react? The angel said to the women, notice he didn't talk to the guards. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said he would. Come and see the place where he lay." Proof. The angels, there's nothing to hide about Christianity. Christianity is totally transparent. Matter of fact, it's one of the few religions, or if the only religion in the world that is. They want you to read about it. They want you to know all about it. Matter of fact, they give you an instruction book called the Bible. Read everything there is. Know everything there is that you can know about God. And I guarantee if you begin to do that, the more you know, the more you'll want to know. Come and see the place where he lay. Verse 7, then he had some orders for them. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now, I have told you. Now, I want if you're at the grave and the angels tell you that Jesus is risen, you got to remember, just 2 days before, their entire world ended. Christianity died with the crucifixion and his burial. And it was dead until Sunday morning when he rose again. Then the power of God was made evident. These ladies who were there in anticipation of seeing Jesus, is he really there, or am I just here to prepare his body? Could you imagine how fast they ran when he said, he's in Galilee already waiting for you, you'll see him there? Can you imagine how fast? Man, I wish Nikes would have been more back there, made back then, right? They'd have got there 10 minutes sooner. Verse 7 reads again, then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you in Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you. You know, in my life, there have been times I walked away from God. There have been times that I've walked away. I remember coming out of high school and just not wanting to be there with him. Not wanting to follow what he wanted me to follow. And when he began to call me into his service, I remember running the opposite way. I remember studying marine biology in Southern Illinois. If you know anything about geography, there's no oceans near Southern Illinois. Not even some lakes like that. But I remember the day that a man said that, you know what, Jesus still wants you. The day that he said, you know what, he's gone ahead just a little bit. All you got to do is go and you'll find him. Because he's alive. And he wants to be alive in your life. So that was the amazing point to me. He wasn't just alive. He wanted to be alive in my life. He wanted to be alive in me. And he wants to be alive in you. So the women hurried away from the tomb. afraid yet filled with joy. Remember she was talking about in the video that she was excited and everything, kind of nervous all at the same time, and scared and excited. Have you ever been there? Yeah. I imagine this was the perfect time to be that way. And they ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. See, because I tell you what, when you walk away from Jesus, or you've been apart from him for a while, or maybe you've never been a part of his life at all, when you're separated from him, when you finally meet him and discover who he really is, you run to him. And you grab all of him. And you never want to let go. You want to worship him. Then Jesus said to them, I love this, do not be afraid. You know what? Because fear is a liar. Fear lies to us. Fear, I don't know how many times if you've ever been in the dark and you're wanting to, it's funny. And you want to walk, you don't know what's in there, and you're like, man, in your mind you just run wild about what could be in there. And then if you've ever been in a building at night, and you've only been there during the day before, and then you walk through at night and you hear something, you're like, was that there before? Fear lies to us. You ever been late to a class, and you know that there's however many people on the other side, and as soon as they open the door, I know every eye is going to be on me. You know, when you're big like this, there's a lot of places they can look. There's a lot more space for them to gawk at. But fear is a liar. Because you know what? How many times have somebody walked in when you've been sitting there, and you look up, and look back down, you didn't care? Fear lies to us. And so Jesus, he's always telling us, do not be afraid. A lot of times after that, he'll say this, truly I tell you. He says, then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me. The promise of Jesus showing up. You know what? Jesus has made a promise to every one of us that he will show up in your life. If you will open yourself up and you will freely say, I am not moving this way. If you unbiasedly search for truth, Jesus will meet you.
That's right. That's right.
Say it again. If you unbiasedly, if you're searching for truth in life, truth, just pure truth, Jesus will meet you. We don't need to go into the rest of it. You can read the guard's report, basically telling them we're going to give you some money if you lie and say Jesus was stolen by his disciples. The story of Easter, the most important story for Christians.
Amen.
We talk about Christmas all the time, but I want you to know that the power of God is in the Easter story.
That's right.
When he defeated death,
That's right.
and he empowered us. What an amazing, amazing story.
Amen.
As we are here today, and we're going to we have some more after the sermon. Sing a song? No, we're going to do communion. We've been battling about where we're putting stuff all week. It's been one of those unique husband-wife things. And so naturally, you're right, Annie. We're going to do communion here because Jesus told us, he goes, do this in remembrance of me. As he was talking, Judas had left at the Last Supper, and he was talking to his disciples, and he's like, there's some hard days coming. There's some hard days for me coming. And he goes, do this in remembrance of me. And I think that one of the reasons why he let Judas leave before he said this is because he wanted all of us to be right with one another.
That's right.
And so today, as we get ready to take this, not everybody has to take it. There is no one being forced to take communion. Especially if you still got to get something right with somebody. But the way we're going to do is everybody's going to funnel over to the middle aisle. And you'll come up. I'm going to hold the juice. And then you can peel out, and I will have the wafers on each side. You want to come stand with me?